Story 1. It wasn't his fault, but what happened when he got food poisoning was terrible. Poor guy. I have never seen anything come out from both ends of the body like that. It got on the ceilings, walls, and even the dog. It was bad. Story 2. I had a staphylococcal abscess on my buttocks. The doctor was not able to lance it, but she accessed it immediately with no further complications. Prevented me from sitting down properly for a week. It was a difficult situation, and I am still very grateful to her. She is amazing. We are getting married. Story 3. My ex used to wipe his personal emissions on his side of the bare mattress and box spring. I never noticed. We used to make our bed together, and he would always take care of his side and put the clean-fitted sheet over the layers of crust. I did not notice until I was making the bed alone one day, and I was horrified. Story 4. Stuffed soiled baby diapers under my couch because she was too lazy to get up and walk 8 feet to the garbage can. I found them a month after she moved out, and my house still smelled bad. Story 5. I dated a girl who would always urinate in bed when intoxicated. Waking up to wet sheets when we were both hungover was not pleasant. That was many years ago, and she has been sober for nearly 20 years. Story 6. My ex. We had just moved in together and started to fool around. He dropped his pants and the entire room immediately smelled like feces. A lot of feces. Not fresh, but that sharp, rancid cheese smell that dog feces get when baking in the sun for several hours. I asked him what the smell was, figuring he had passed gas. He just started giggling and said, "Poop." I asked him to explain, and he told me it was just the feces stuck in his butt hairs. It turned out he thought you only needed one wipe when using the toilet, even if it was still dirty. He only wiped properly when I was visiting. Since we had moved in together and I was now trapped in a year-long lease with him, he thought it would make it too difficult for me to break up with him, so he stopped wiping properly. Being a normal, decent human being who does not enjoy sitting in their own feces, I took several minutes to process this information and just sat there. He took this as acceptance of his nastiness and continued trying to make out with me. I ended up having to slap him because he would not get off me or stop trying to stick his tongue in my mouth, even though I was unresponsive. This was disgusting and disturbing on another level. Who keeps trying to have sex with someone who is clearly uninterested? To make things worse, while I was scrubbing my gums bloody with my toothbrush and washing my entire body wherever he had touched me to remove every molecule of his filth, he sat in the bedroom giggling like a toddler, repeating poop and but hairs to himself. We never had sex or fooled around again. He never understood, even when I explained it clearly, that the only people who do not wipe properly are babies and toddlers, and I do not have sex with children. He is now married to a woman 25 years older than him, and I wonder if she helps him with personal hygiene. Story 7. Gave me an insane amount of criticism about canceling a scheduled date because I had to drive my grandmother back to her hometown. She was hospitalized in the city where I lived and discharged for hospice. My grandmother wanted to die at home as her last request. I really liked my girlfriend, but I couldn't handle the disrespect and resentment after she told me her feelings were valid and that I should have apologized for canceling. I broke up with her the following week. Story 8. My ex-girlfriend removed a bloody tampon to have sex with me. She wrapped it in a tissue and dropped it under the bed. I found it still lying there about a week later. I asked her why she did not put it away. She told me that I should have since I was the one who wanted to have sex with her. Story 9. My wife would probably say the time we were messing about and I licked her eyeball. The honest-to-God ball. It was indescribably smooth. It made glass feel like sandpaper. Edit. No, it was not painful at all. The taste was just a mild salty flavor. Story 10. Okay. No lie, my ex-boyfriend was in a methamphetamine-induced psychosis. He was acting very crazy, punching himself in his genitals, naked, staring into the mirror, screaming, "You have a home. You have a home." I was just staring at him in awe. I said, "That's enough." Then he looked at me like he was about to go on a full rampage, and I just did not know what to do. Then he turned around, spread his buttocks, and slid his anus down the mirror. Do not do drugs, everyone. Story 11. I helped her raise her young son and paid for almost everything for 5 years. She inherited a lot of money from her grandmother and left her relationship. Within weeks, she bought a new car, a home, and took a trip to Europe. The worst part is that she said unforgivable things to end our relationship, claiming I never did anything for her or her son. It was terrible. I was a father figure to her son when he needed one. Yes, I still have a relationship with him. Story 12. Previously, he never washed his hands even after using the toilet. It took a few visits to the doctor before realizing he was the problem. Story 13. My ex was a cheater, pedophile, and abuser among many other things. I recently found out that he, his mother, and his friends have been telling people that I not only had 2 miscarriages while with him but now have a 2-year-old child with my current boyfriend, who I have not been with for 2 years. I cannot get pregnant. Story 14. This ex revealed he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, so he did a number of disgusting things. If we are talking about sanitary disgusting, I found a pile of dirty panties in his closet. None were mine, all different sizes. Pile used and dirty. Story 15. The individual had explicit photos of his biological sister saved on his phone in a group chat that only included himself, along with many other explicit photos of different girls. Story 16. She stole my car, punched my mother, and pushed my grandmother like she was a sack of potatoes. Then she urinated and defecated on my mattress. The part that really broke me was that she thought we were still dating after all that. I had to take her to court for a restraining order and explain the reasons to the judge. Story 17. Several escalating levels of disgust. My ex-wife wanted sex after drinking excessively and vomiting from our balcony. She still smelled of vomit, cigarette smoke, alcohol, and sweat. I was extremely disgusted when she kept trying. I started getting annoyed, then angry as she belittled me, my body, my appearance, and my performance. She told me she only stayed with me to avoid loneliness and that if someone better came along, she would leave me immediately. Granted, she was drunk, but that stung. Story 18. Eats garlic to reduce the chances of catching an illness after visiting crowded public places, such as the city or airport. Her breath sometimes smelled unpleasant, but I still love her. Story 19. Ghosted while I was undergoing treatment for the cervical cancer he gave me after lying about his sexually transmitted infection status. He was cheating a lot. We had been together for 3 years. The ghosting during cancer treatment was the most disgusting part, not the sexually transmitted infection status issue. That part is horrible etiquette for anyone who is sexually active. You should always be safe, get tested regularly, and be completely honest with partners. However, it is not inherently disgusting to contract a sexually transmitted infection. Stigma around that is dangerous for everyone, so I wanted to be explicitly clear and not add to any shame around it. Story 20. Probably not the wildest story out there, but one girl told a story where her boyfriend secretly wiped his boogers under their shared bed frame for months. She only found out when they moved the bed and saw a full crusted collection like a disgusting nose museum. He just casually said, "Oh yeah, I've been doing that for a while. People are out here dating cavemen with internet." Story 21. Did not shower in weeks or months, only did laundry when there was a distinct smell coming from the clothes, drank more than 4 bottles of vodka a day, spent all their money on illicit drugs, constantly begged for money, and then tried to manipulate me into thinking I was the problem. Have fun with liver cirrhosis, dude. Edited to add, I left. Story 22. Hardly ever washed his sheets. I'm talking crusty sheets with stains and sweat. His overall hygiene was not good either. He would give me yeast infections all the time. Now my boyfriend is clean and I never get infections anymore. Story 23. My ex had a habit of leaving dirty dishes in the sink until they grew actual mold. I am not exaggerating. There was legitimate mold growing on a plate for 3 weeks. Story 24. Picked a scab off his scalp that ended up being 2 baby snails. He also cheated on me, but this was far worse. Story 25. Oh God. My social companions are like no one I have ever met. He will pick out the crust from my eyes, wipe the snot off my face. Anything. He also engages in intimate activities with unparalleled enthusiasm. Story 26. My current boyfriend? Absolutely nothing. That man could and would never. Ex-boyfriend? Many things. The more interesting ones are as follows. Got several members of his church to group gaslight me in a bedroom about him not cheating on me. Got engaged to someone else while we lived together. When I had a pregnancy scare during our relationship, after he assaulted me, he offered me $300 to take care of it and get away from him. Right before we moved across the country together, he took 3 separate girls out on romantic rooftop dates at the place where he worked. I found out 5 years after this occurred. Story 27. My ex once got very drunk and soiled the room while we were on a cruise. He also vomited on me twice during the night. Story 28. I was intimate with my friend, allowed him to finish inside her, and then went down on her 90 minutes later when I arrived at her place. I wasn't prepared for that. Story 29. Once admitted, he said he would rape me if he had a chance because I have a nice body and I am a virgin since I am taking too long to get intimate with him. Story 30. My husband's flatulence is unpleasant, but I still love him. I usually leave the room for a moment, but sometimes he follows to share affection. Story 31. Fertilized a garden with human waste. Her aunt and uncle have a basic cottage. After her aunt became ill and was unable to maintain the gardens, they became overgrown. We stayed there for a few days, and my girlfriend decided to redo the gardens. We pulled out all the weeds, and she sent me to find leaves or mulch. When I returned, the gardens smelled like a composting outhouse, and my girlfriend told me not to kneel in them or wear my shoes inside. Story 32. I mashed potatoes with cheese and spinach, and it had the weirdest, most disgusting glue-like texture. But he ate it happily because he saw I was sad about wasting food. He is so kind to me. Then it happened again. I used the wrong soy sauce on a beef stir-fry, and the food was absolutely disgusting. He ate it all even though I told him he did not have to. What a guy. Truly tasted strange, not exaggerating, it was bad. But he ate it because he saw I was sad about wasting expensive beef. Story 33. My ex cheated on me while I was actively miscarrying our child because, apparently, that was more important than being present. It affected me deeply for a long time and still leaves me with some issues even now. But that is why therapy exists, I guess. Story 34. I accused her of liking some random guy at a party, but she denied it. I asked why she was lying about it since we weren't very serious. She was flirting like crazy. A day and a half later, I found the guy in her bed. She was very unstable. She moved 3 hours away and got an apartment directly next to an ex-boyfriend she was obsessed with. He had cheated on her previously and left her for another woman. She couldn't accept it. Her irrational behavior unsettled me. Story 35. Ignore me and our marriage to create online relationships on Reddit to act out adult roleplays and sexting with camgirls. A literal wanker. Disgusting because of infidelity and kinks, and I am still stuck with this loser who makes me feel terrible. Story 36. My abusive ex once grabbed me by the face, yanked me forward, and pulled out one of my upper lip hairs with his teeth because he said he had issues with out-of-place hair on women. Disgusting on several levels, I would say. Story 37. Someone asked me if they could have a sexual encounter with one of my close friends, which is gross. It was made even worse by their assumption that if I revealed who it was, they would be willing to do it. Story 38. I had to give my husband 5 enemas to prepare for a procedure. It would have sounded strange to anyone passing by our windows. Story 39. Let me go down on her while she was on her period. It was dark, and when I got down there, I felt the tampon string with my tongue. She seriously started laughing when I said, "What the heck?" Story 40. He left stains on my sheets. I provided wipes and, of course, soap and water. He did not understand why I would not let him in my bed. We did not last long. Story 41. Metaphorically speaking, my now ex knew I had been in a toxic, abusive relationship. I had told her it persisted because I was so codependent that I was not able to break away. She sighed and said, "Damn, my ex got the best years of you." Literally speaking, she kept getting sick and was blaming me for it. However, I suspect it had more to do with her kissing animals. Kissing the bottom of the cat's paws, kissing the chickens all over, kissing the baby bunnies she found in the yard, and stray cats. Story 42. I asked him if he had booked a day off work to go to my cousin's funeral. He had not, and his justification was, "It is just a waste of time anyway, is it?" We broke up. Story 43. My ex never wiped properly when he went to the bathroom. He did one sideways wipe and thought that was good enough. I only found out because he said he was itchy and had to wipe again, which meant there was still residue. He told me he only wiped once and didn't check, so he wiped again when he felt itchy. He also went outside every time he had to urinate because the bathroom was too far. I had a friend over, and we went to wash our hands in the basement sink, which smelled awful. I felt like I was going to vomit because of the smell. Later, I found out he also urinated in the sink when he thought walking outside was too much work. Story 44. My ex would wipe his nasal mucus on the wall. I kept finding it since I am very clean and would constantly have to lecture him. Story 45. Well, there was that one time she got a mutually agreed abortion, then asked me 4 years later if I had ever gotten her pregnant because she forgot. After 30 minutes of her carrying this on to my disbelief and increasing frustration, she then told me to calm down because it was just a joke, apparently. To this day, I don't know if she enjoyed seeing me squirm over the truth of a traumatic event, in which case she can be dismissed, or if she exposed that she had lied about that event and was scrambling in real time to cover herself, which is worse because she did a lot of things around that time that were highly manipulative, such as acting depressed. She can also be dismissed in this case. I never spoke to her again after that. Story 46. This guy I was seeing on his birthday took his girlfriend to Florida, purchased a Porsche for himself, and then asked me for $500 so he could have fun on his birthday all in the same day, ignoring everything else. Fast forward 2 months later, my sister passed away. I was at my parents' house. We were sitting in Shiva, me, my parents, niece, and nephew. My sister had passed from cancer. He then started calling, saying his mother was in the hospital with cancer, that his cat was sick, and that he had to give the cat away to a nice girl who was also his girlfriend at the time. He did this for an entire week straight because he wanted money. What a rat. Story 47. He is 8 years older than me and still had the guts to cheat with someone younger. I can still remember his lines before that he was about to settle and that he was not that kind of man, even saying if his parents died. Trash, I am furious. Story 48. My ex-boyfriend and I took a trip to Florida last year with my family. Not once did he shower. We went to SeaWorld and walked in the hot sun for hours. We sweat, went to the pool, and more. He would just wake up, put on deodorant, and go about his day. His breath reeked, and his saliva had a strange, slimy consistency. Needless to say, I am glad I am out of that relationship. He also ate a McChicken on camera. Story 49. The time I was with my ex-boyfriend, I was struggling with complex post-traumatic stress disorder and in treatment for it. He blamed me for his massive pornography addiction. He was looking and chatting on websites every hour of the day, even when we were together. Every time I brought up something that hurt me, he would gaslight me into believing something was wrong with me. He would give me the silent treatment or scream until I broke down and then give me the silent treatment. When I didn't want to have sex with him, he threw a large tantrum or pushed himself on me. My self-esteem was shattered, and our relationship was very codependent. I even helped him look for help, hoping he would become a better person, the person I always saw through all the harm he caused me. After 2 weeks in treatment, he dropped out, and I finally had the courage to break up with him. Story 50. When I broke up with her because the relationship was toxic, she said, "I'm going to kill myself if you don't take me back." Then, an hour later, her mother texted me from her number saying, "I just found her in her room. She hasn't done anything too bad." I wanted to let her friends know, like I would believe it. If you found your child trying to commit suicide, the first thing you would do is not check their phone just in case. Story 51. Emotionally cheated, tried to manipulate me about it, narcissistically love-bombed and future-faked me into an intense emotional connection just to discard me after 3 months for the person she was cheating on me with. She justified it by saying she didn't owe me anything and all the promises she broke were acceptable to break because she changed her mind, as she said. Then, she called me abusive and narcissistic because during our relationship, I often told her I didn't want her spending time with the person she was clearly having an emotional affair with. I wanted her to respect me, my feelings, and our relationship, yet that was labeled controlling. Story 52. Was on Tinder the entire 18 months we dated. He would hook up with random women he found on Tinder in his driveway, in his car while I slept inside. He also met them at abandoned houses for hookups. Story 53. I got blackout drunk for the first time, drinking on an empty stomach. My boyfriend and I had been together only a few months at that point. I felt very unwell. I had to use the bathroom urgently and felt so lightheaded that I just wanted to lie in the bath afterward. I did not even wipe because I did not realize I had gone. He wiped for me, and I was very embarrassed, but he said it was fine and he did not mind taking care of me. We have known each other for 13 years, so it was not that bad, but we had just started dating, and I thought it was too soon for him to see me like that. Story 54. Ex-fiancée. She cheated on me with a grungy, overweight man in his 50s who splits his time living with his mother and on a houseboat. She was in her late 20s at the time. I caught her in the act. For context, we had separated for a few months. He was part of her group of friends, and they used to see each other at open mic nights and similar events. While we were separated, she stayed on his houseboat. It didn't bother me because, technically, we weren't together at the time. Besides, I honestly didn't expect anything other than a platonic relationship between them. She had even told me that when I first met him. When she said she was going to stay at his place, I thought it was kind of weird. But she said, "Are you kidding? I'd never do anything with him. Have you seen him? He's just a friend who is kind enough to let me stay on his boat while we figure things out. He probably won't even be there most of the time. We worked out our issues, got back together, and she moved in with me. Things were going fine until one night when we both had plans with our own friends. We agreed to keep in contact and update each other. I got home first, probably close to midnight, and texted her, 'Hey, I'm home. Hope you're having fun. Send me an update when you can so I know when you'll be heading home. I love you.' No response. About an hour later, I texted her again, 'Hey, just let me know you're okay. I'm getting worried.' Again, no response. By 2 or 3 a.m., I was very anxious. I genuinely thought something had happened to her. I called her several times, but the calls just rang and went to voicemail. Then I realized that I paid for her phone, and it was on my plan. It was definitely on because she was receiving my texts, and the calls didn't immediately go to voicemail. I logged into the Find My Phone app and saw she was at a house about 30 minutes away. I got in my car and drove over to check on her. I parked behind her car in front of a dark house. I walked up onto the porch and saw her through a big window, sleeping on a mattress in the middle of the floor in her underwear next to this man. My soul was crushed in that moment. I started knocking and ringing the doorbell repeatedly until they both woke up. I made eye contact with her through the window and threw my hands up in a "What are you doing?" gesture. She came to the door, all groggy, and didn't know what to say. I pretty much told her I hoped that man was worth it, then got in my car and left. Not only did this destroy me because of the betrayal of my trust, but also because the man was an overweight old slob living with his mother in his 50s. It made me feel really bad about myself. Like I was so horrible that she would throw everything away to sleep with him. Completely destroyed me. Disgusting is a good word to describe it. Story 55. We had different sleep schedules. He slept on the side of the bed away from the door. I had no reason to go to that side of the room. One day, I had to go around the bed and found more than 30 different sized bottles filled with urine. He was too lazy to walk out of the bedroom to use the bathroom, which was right there. The bottles ranged from Mountain Dew to milk gallon sizes. Story 56. Would straight up write hurtful things on the wall, especially things that upset her. Yes, on a wall. Especially things I told her that she did not agree with. She made sure that I remembered she was doing that and then told me how horrible I was. I once saw "You suffocate me" written on her bathroom wall. Story 57. Not mine, but a family member's story. When she told her boyfriend she was pregnant, he said she should get an abortion. After about a day, she decided to keep the baby, but he told everyone she was pregnant. A couple of days later, he again said she should abort the baby. He even said he would tell everyone she had a miscarriage and that he would return the baby clothes he bought to buy something for his daughter from another woman. The abortion did not happen, and the baby is a healthy 14-year-old boy. Story 58. Cheated on me multiple times but somehow became the victim, and I was the one at fault because I found out. The last time was the final time. Although it is still extremely painful because she had such a narcissistic hold on me, I am slowly coming out of her clutches. Story 59. Stealthing. No sexually transmitted disease check was done, by the way. It turned out to be fine. Nothing was caught, but for pregnancy reasons, this was appalling. What a scumbag. Story 60. My ex faked an accident to avoid a serious discussion about our relationship. He sent me a picture of himself wearing bandages all over his face and head and told me that he did not have much time. Story 61. My ex would keep empty gallon jugs under his side of the bed. In the middle of the night, when he needed to pee, instead of walking 10 steps to the bathroom, he would pee in one of the jugs. He would let a jug get about half full before moving it farther under the bed to make room for a new jug. I once found 11 half-full jugs of urine under our bed. I was a pack-a-day smoker back then, so I am unsure if there was a smell or not. Story 62. He's now my ex, but I find this weird and pretty disgusting. Somewhat unrelated, but this was after he found out he spread human papillomavirus to me because I had to get a biopsy done along with yearly pap smears during our whole relationship. He refused to see a doctor before, during, and after this. I was 22, still pretty naive and learning how to be in a relationship, and he was 25 at the time. Anyway, he was concerned about vitiligo appearing on his penis and scrotum. So he started crying and pulled his pants down to show his mother, who is not a doctor. They both started crying about very small, light discolorations in his genital area, which posed no threat to him or anyone else. They were no different than finding a freckle there. Luckily, neither of us had symptoms of human papillomavirus, but he clearly cared more about vitiligo freckles than the actual health and safety of both of us. Vitiligo cannot be spread and is not dangerous, but human papillomavirus can be. Needless to say, I left him shortly after this. The involvement of his mother didn't sit right with me. I am pretty sure to this day he hasn't seen a doctor. Thankfully, I did not get cancer from his negligence. He never got checked for any other diseases since supposedly there is no human papillomavirus test for men. Story 63. Burped in my mouth during our first makeout session and got a huge booger on my breast while he was sucking my breasts. We are getting married in 2 weeks, and I could not be happier. Story 64. Lied to my face about the fact that she has changed as a person. However, once I took a closer look, she had not changed at all and just wanted to have me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.